All right, good afternoon, everyone. For today's Finance Committee meeting, we have 4 items on the agenda. And the first is a presentation regarding the projected cost overruns for the Young Family Athletic Center and the Senior Wellness Center. And to speak with us about that, we have Jason Olson, our Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mayor. Give you a little update about the kind of like what you just said over the project overruns for these 2 projects. We're going to focus here on the Senior Wellness Center and the Young Family Athletic Center. This first slide right here, it was shared to us from one of our construction managers. Kind of shows us the rising cost in construction materials over the past year. Some of them have gone up. You see diesel fuels up 80%. We have to get everything driven to us and delivered at the sites. Lumber, about 63%. Copper, copper runs all the way through this electrical, and steel is up about 40%. So as you can see, it's progressively getting more expensive to build these buildings, and way more expensive than when we got our initial cost estimates to do these projects. First one I'm going to talk to you about is the Senior Wellness Center. This is a picture fresh off the press. We got these new illustrations today. This is kind of the design look that they're going to use over the whole Norman Regional Campus, and they're kind of following our architect FSB's design off of these. So just a little quick update where we're at and when we're going to do groundbreaking. We expect groundbreaking for the Senior Wellness Center to happen in November 2021. The structure is going to be probably mostly complete, not fully complete, ready to be worked in or open to the public, but it'll be ready and done in fall of 2022. We expect a ribbon cutting somewhere in November, December of 2022. This right here is the Norman Regional Health Village site plan. I think you've all seen this. The Senior Wellness Center will go on the southeastern side of the campus. This right here is a site plan for the Senior Wellness Center on that southeast part of the campus. We right now are planning for about 97 parking spots on the site. We have a few more pictures that, like I said, it's kind of fresh off the presses that we got sent to us today. This is from the outside view. Kind of looking from the north to the east. A little bit more up close right there. You can kind of see the porte that is designed into that, and make sure that it's covering handicapped spots, and make sure that people, when they get dropped off, have a covered entry to the center. This is looking from the northwest side, kind of going back towards, even kind of looking back towards Porter right here. This is on the back side. You have a little bit of a covered porch area where we'll have a fireplace underneath that. You can be a 2-way fireplace. You can either sit outside and enjoy a fire, or be inside and go play some games, do whatever seniors do on the outside of a building on a nice day. A little bit farther out, picture illustration. Those are kind of what we have now. Here's our floor plan. Kind of going clockwise. We'll start off at the pool. You kind of look to the right of that. You have a pool lounge. You got your men's and women's lockers. So that lounge will have, before we get to the men's and women's locker rooms, that lounge will have universal changing rooms into it. The men's and women's locker rooms, place where they can go use the restroom or get dressed before going into the pool, or even have a little bit of an outside entry to the pool lounge for people using the gymnasium or something like that to go use the men's and women's locker room to get dressed or use the restroom. A little bit farther to the right, you got the fitness area. Onto the admin area, you have those 3 exam rooms right there that can be used from anything from health checks to massages to mental health therapy. Going a little bit farther than that, you have the admin space, the main entry. You got a kitchen and a demo kitchen, which was highly requested, where seniors can participate in classes or learn how to cook. Multi-purpose room, which kind of feeds into the kitchen. That's where we'll have our meal drop-offs. From aging services, the multi-purpose room can be used to eat, or it could be used to have a concert or classes or play cards in, and then you have a smaller classroom over there. Starting off on the other side, you got your wet and dry craft room with a staging and storage area right there in the middle. A kiln right there on, I believe, it's got me probably all turned around, but I believe that's on the south end of the building. Then you have more right next to that going back towards the pool. You have restrooms. What will, on the other side of that, a specific game room, that lounge area, which we're kind of looking at the pictures at, which would have a two-way fireplace. Then our fitness area, which the most requested thing is an area to walk. So you can see that, I don't know what the size of that is exactly, but I can get that information for you. I know that question might come up. With the pickleball court and fitness area right there, our operator, Healthy Living, requested as much area to have workout equipment as possible. They think that would be the most profitable area for them, and as y'all probably know, the basic economics, the more revenue they're able to produce, the less they have to depend on the city to make sure their operation stays afloat. And then you have some more storage and mechanical pool areas over there that we're kind of ending at. Let's go over our project budget summary. Our overall budget for this project is $12.4 million. Construction, and this is original, before we went to an ad hoc committee about a month ago. Construction budget was $9.9 million. Initial construction estimates for the first drawing that we had off the concept came in at about $12.6 million. So the initial cost estimate was $2.7 million over budget. This led to some value engineering, so we worked with the design team and our architects, and our construction manager worked on exterior finishes. It originally had all metal panel on the outside of the building. As you know, the steel is extremely high. From our first graphic was about 40% higher, so we changed that to a stucco finish on the outside of the building instead of a metal finish. Interior finishes got toned down a little bit. Our soft cost reduction between our architects, engineers, and project oversight, actually we took down the contingency on that. So and then our owner contingency we took from 10 to 5%. We took about 1,700 square feet out of the building, and this is not really noticeable square feet. This is, we shrunk the hallways, took a couple feet off, cut a couple feet off of the classrooms and in other areas, and basically ended up taking 1,700 or so square feet off, reducing it to about 30,000 square feet. Building height got reduced by about 6 feet, which was, believe it or not, was about a savings of $100,000. So our total value engineering savings was about $2.5 million after we went through there and did that exercise. With our contingency, adding a contingency back in there, our construction budget went up to $10.3 million. We had after our value engineering, construction estimate stands at about $10 million, and we have about $283,000 on the plus side right now. We do have some things that we could add, alternates we could add in, which would include an additional pickleball court, or just put metal panels back in, which are way superior to the stucco. We can also add a little bit more area into the fitness gym. These are all options that we'll look at once we get a little bit farther into the design process. Design development is scheduled to end towards the end of this month. At the end of this month, we'll go through another pricing exercise, and we'll find out if the construction costs have evened out or leveled out, and see if we can add some of that stuff that we kind of listed back into the project. Moving on to the Young Family Athletic Center. Since I think we've met last, we've named the facility, as you can see, the Young Family Athletic Center. We're planning on a groundbreaking in the middle of this or next month. The groundbreaking, we're going to ask for a couple of GMPs from council. Our first one will be basically a property clear. We're going to work on foundation. We're going to order steel. The amount of steel that is for this building is about a 7-month lead. So to make sure that we can get steel on property and not delay construction any further, we want to order that as early as possible. They're looking to order that sometime late September, early October. We believe that the structure will be complete, and that's actually early 2023, so I have the wrong date on there. And then we'll have a ribbon cutting in March of 2023. And the date we're aiming for, and I'm going to throw this out there, is March 11th. And it's the young family significance that kind of comes with that. Rayford Young, Trey's dad, when he played at Texas Tech, he wore the number 3, and Trey wore the number 11. So it'd be a cool date to kind of include to have a ribbon cutting on 3/11. Trying really hard to make that happen. This is the facility logo that we've come up with. As you can see, there's a YFAC in there. If you add everything in there together, and that's the Young Family Athletic Center. Very inventive logo. One of the Young Family design artists came up with it, and I think it's going to be a very living logo that's attached to this, and you're going to see it a lot in the upcoming months. Our site plan out there at, as y'all hopefully all know, this is just north of the Embassy Suites. You kind of see there on the southern end that we have some connections to the Embassy Suite parking lot. That northern side right there with that little road connection that will connect to Rock Creek. Well, this has everything from our building signage into it to parking lots to future parking, and even a future auditorium, and even room to expand 2 gymnasiums right there on the southern end. Going through these pictures, once again, got these from the architect today, brand new off the presses. You are the first to see these. This is on looking right in front of the building, kind of off of 24th. What the signage will look like on that northwest side. It's not final signage, but this is kind of where it would be located and what it could look like. Night views, they're talking about, we're looking at kind of a red finish with a nice gray brick. They're talking about putting some special lighting on the outside of the building so they can get some cool effects in the evening. Another look from the outside of the building in the evening time. Well, this is not the floor plan. I can send y'all the floor plan. This is the senior center floor plan. I was having troubles downloading
That was a
everything.
test. That was a test, right? We
Yeah.
were paying attention. We knew what it was.
Is anybody asleep? No.
It's a test, right?
Let's talk a little bit about the. Yes.
How many parking spots is it gonna have? I know that was an issue the last time we kind of talked about it.
It doesn't have it listed on here, but I think there's about 250 planned parking spots on that. We're going to have a connection to the Embassy Suites
Right,
and an
shared.
agreement with them to share parking on events. Of course, we'll have to give them enough notice of our events, but they're very open to the idea of sharing parking because they want those people coming in from out of town to stay at their hotel and have that access to walk there. So we already have a letter of intent from the Embassy Suites. We just, once we get farther down the road and we have a final design plan, we'll go to them and get an MOU with an agreement for that parking lot. And they're 100% in, and it's not going to be any problem. And everybody that's been in the Embassy Suites knows how big that parking area is behind there. And we're actually going to have our groundbreaking in their parking lot. So we're working with them on every facet.
Councilmember Studley?
I wanted to ask, I noticed on one of your signs that showed Norman Regional on there. Are they co-sponsoring or
Yes, I can get into that here in just a second, and if I was smart enough to put in the correct floor plan, we could have talked about that, but
We feel your pain.
yeah, I was throwing this together, and they sent me the new floor plan of both things at the same time, and when I downloaded it, I must have did it incorrectly, but there's a 25-yard pool that will start from the north side, so you're going to have to close your eyes and imagine everything. From the north side, we'll have a 25-yard competition pool that's 25-yard by 25 meters, a warm-up pool that's also a 25-meter in length pool. It has 4 lanes into it. That'll be the warm-up pool. Kind of working your way south in that building, you'll have a Norman Regional Sports and Performance Center, and they're going to do everything from orthopedic wellness checks to sports training, to basically work on exercising, working with and exercising with our youth to make sure that they have strength in certain part of their bodies and make sure that they're less susceptible to injury. Great example, when we went down to the Star in Dallas, we visited a place with Norman Regional to look at that. They were talking about female youth soccer players that are highly acceptable to tearing their left ACL more than any other athlete. And there's a certain test that they can run on a young athlete and find out where exactly the weak points are in their body, and they can, Norman Regional will work with these youth to get that part of their body more strength and make less likely to injure themselves. Project's budget summary from Norm Forward Fund. We have $22.5 million budgeted for this. The TIF supplement for the rec facility is $2.7 million. The Young Family Foundation is donating $4 million for a total city budget of $29.2 million. If I had somebody might be going and getting for us, but the Norman Regional portion of it, of the building, is approximately $6.6 million. And I will say that the Sports Performance Center, which they're adding in, if we pull that center out, if we had a magic magnet, attached it, screw it to the top and pulled it out, that portion of the building costs exactly $6.6 million. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that Norman Regional is paying 100% of their way on this. The city is not kicking in any funding for their portion of this building. So, but total combined construction estimate for this building right now after SDs is $35.8 million. Here's a little bit of a breakdown of all the costs that kind of associated with the city side. I didn't include the Norman Regional side because, once again, that's completely separate from what this budget is. Soft cost is $2.85 million, which is architects and engineer, project oversighting, testing, FF&E. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment is $896,000. The art component is right now at $265,000, and I will say this is actually two components. The Young Family wants 1% of their money to go towards an separate art project, which would more than likely be inside the building, separate from the Norm Forward art. So there's going to be two art projects at this building. The owner contingency, the city's contingency for this project is $850,000. Total construction estimate is $29.86 million on the city side, and you add all this together, you're looking at about $34.7 million. We also had to value engineer this project a whole lot. We have taken a lot out of it to try to get close to what the original offering, or what we've been telling everybody what we're going to get, and what is turning into a reality. Reduced volleyball courts from 16 courts to 12 courts. These are some of these terms that we're kind of looking at right now are what they took out. They changed the type of roofing. They reduced the steel structure. They eliminated a call wall system in the gym, which is basically a hardened form of sheetrock. Drywall and tile locker room in lieu of CMU in the locker rooms, and we changed the type of we originally wanted a Murtha pull system, which is what they use at the Olympics. That got changed into more of a traditional concrete pool. So if anybody is currently watching the Olympic trials right now in Omaha, the Murtha pool is basically like a big Lego set that they put together, metal panels with fiberglass on the outside of it, and they put it together, and you can actually change the size of it or move it or anything you want to. It's like a Lego set, basically. Took that out, and now we're in a concrete pool, which is much cheaper. Here's our project delta on this. The city is throwing in $29.2 million. The estimate came in at $35.7 million, so we're upside down $5.2 million, or $5.25 million in this project. And I think that wraps up kind of what I had
Councilor Studley.
on that portion.
So if we're negative 5.2 million, I know you said if we took a magnet and lifted up Norman Regional's part, it's 6.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
So with the increase in cost of construction material, would their portion of the building not also increase along with the rest of the building for us?
Yes, their portion did increase.
Okay.
They originally had, I believe, about $6 million set aside for this project, and now they're up to about $6.7 million total. And I think that Anthony ran some copies for me.
Okay.
To make sure that we have the correct floor plan. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Councilor Ball?
Okay. On the Mirtha pool, I'll start backwards and work up the list. What is the difference in future expansion? Is it possible to expand a Mirtha pool if it's like Lego building blocks? Because I know that the aquatic community, even though they're on board, are disappointed that they're not going to have that 50-meter pool. So it seems like if we have a concrete pool, that's it. We're done.
Well, yes.
And I don't know anything about a Mirtha pool other than you said, I don't know if it allows for any kind of expansion possibilities, or we would just.
Yeah, let's look at the site plan. So right here on the site plan, yes, the Martha pool would be expandable. We would have to go in there and basically break up the deck and dig more, completely shut down the pool. But where we're standing here, future plans showing a completely separate pool, because even if we were able to expand this pool into a 50-meter pool, we still wouldn't be competition ready. Competition ready for their expectations is able to hold about 2,000 people, so they can have state meets, state national meets. And this is kind of what the future natatorium renovation would offer. Exactly hits all the minimum standards for the OSSAA if we ever decided to expand onto the building.
Okay. I'm just wondering what is the cost savings from doing the Mirtha pool versus the concrete pool?
I believe that it's somewhere, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can get an exact cost on that.
Doesn't need to be exact. I'm just curious because, obviously on both of these, projects, there's some pretty serious decisions having to be made. So I was just curious about the pool piece of it. And then, let's see. Well, I guess on both of them, it's my understanding that both of these proposed changes have been taken to the advisory committees. So the Senior Wellness Center Advisory Committee, the Multi-Sport. So did you get consensus, or what was the feedback from those committees on these changes?
So we can start off first with the senior center. We did get consensus from them to remove or value engineer these certain things that are on this list right here to get back within budget. Both groups are obviously disappointed with the cost of everything, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it. I'd like to remind everybody that the senior center in the Norman Forward funds did start out at zero and ended up at $8.4 million, and then with the CARES Act funding got up to $12.4 million. Very disappointed. We do think that the building got struck, but we do think that these things that we have taken out will not overall affect the programming of the building, and in many cases you won't even notice what has been removed from it, because if you look at the hallways, we can go to either floor plan and look at it, but this orange hallway right here down the middle, so that was originally 12 feet in width. They've taken it down to about 10 feet in width. These multi-purpose rooms, the the bigger one, I think they took about 2 feet all along the north and south edge of it and shrunk it by a total 2 feet. The other multi-purpose classroom got shrunk a little bit more. They took a couple feet off of both the east-west side and north-west side. And we took a lot of pull deck out of it, but it had a abundant amount of pull deck. And we have changed the pool a couple times because we knew before we even got to ad hoc committee that the original pool that everybody kind of requested we could not afford. So the pool kind of shrunk, but we still are getting everything we need into, or what we requested into this pool. We'll still be able to do exercise classes, so there'll still be water walking and lap swimming available.
So it sounds like the changes that you're proposing really are all about the form. It's not really altering the function.
Correct, not at the senior center.
Yeah, okay. So I know, because we had a preliminary conversation about this too, on the exterior building materials. That was another place where you got some cost savings, and then also just yeah. So, and I apologize for being late. So the front of the building, were you still talking about having to come down and not having the height that was originally proposed? Is that one of the places that you're?
Yeah, correct. So if you see the entrance, that's where they took the 6 feet off.
Yeah, okay.
The total of the building, the height of the building, and this reduced the total building by 6 feet.
So
And
this is
it's
the
just
new
more
one?
of an aesthetic that
Yeah.
we took out of there than changing any square footage of
Yeah.
the building.
So they're basically still going to have what was finally agreed upon as the essential functions of the senior center?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Um,
And the one area that we're hoping to find some savings at is right here in the gym area. We have those as ad alternatives right now. If we do find more savings or construction costs do even out, we're hoping to get an extra pickleball court added into there.
And then on the pool, with reducing the pool deck, does that affect any kind of ADA accessibility or anything like that?
No, we still have plenty of room all the way around the pool for anybody, no
Okay.
matter what their ability to get around the pool.
Okay, thanks. And then the other question I had about the multi-sport aquatic center, the volleyball courts, having to change the number from 16 to 12, does that affect tournament quality or tournament attractiveness by reducing the number of courts?
Let me start out with the reasoning that we took the square footage out. It was about a savings of $3.5 million we took out a couple thousand square footage out of there because you have to have room to be able to serve. You have to have room for service lines on both ends and make sure that everybody's safe and still leave enough room for parents and family and friends to sit into the gym. Will it overall affect the amount of tournaments that we get for volleyball? There's a possibility, high possibility at that. I think that we can still attract a lot of tournaments for it. Maybe not like the high key national tournaments, but we're still going to be in the running for the regional tournaments, which will be the main focus for the volleyball facility, anyways. We're kind of focused in on we believe that the operator will be focused in on is getting the national basketball tournaments and then focusing in on the regional volleyball tournaments. It does affect going from 16 to 12, but overall we still think we can get the kind of tournaments that we were going to originally shooting for anyways for that.
So we're in the same boat for volleyball as we are for swim?
Just about, yes.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all I have for now, thanks.
So there have been discussions about ARP funds and will it even be possible to fill the gap with that? And what we see, the answer is no. So, which I find interesting because the Norman Forward sales tax is obviously funded by sales tax, which we took a hit over the past year through COVID. But then there's the infrastructure package that may or may not come to be. So we haven't got enough guidelines on that to know if it's going to be applicable here. We did have a call with the White House yesterday that staff was on. I was fortunate to be called on to ask a question or at least give feedback, and said that, if you could prioritize projects that are voter approved, shovel ready, and to make that applicable to use the funds in that way, and they seemed very receptive to that as well. So it's unknown for anyone watching and curious on if we're considering it. We can't consider it at this time because we have no idea what it looks like. Yeah. So I guess that begs the question, what's the plan?
Okay, so here's where, and I came into this movie a couple of weeks ago, and when this number was presented to me, and the immediate thing that sprung to my mind is that we are about to pay off the bonds that were issued for the Westwood Golf Course 20 years ago. And so that revenue stream from the parks portion of the room tax will become available. And that's about right now, about $400,000 a year. So we asked our financial advisory team, I did some preliminary estimates, they kind of confirmed them, how much we could finance with that revenue stream. And the answer to that is about $3.75, $3.8 million of that. So what I was hoping to get today from the Finance Committee was just kind of a, okay, proceed with that idea. We would be coming back to the council. We do an RFP for the financing, hopefully good interest rates, and this interest rate environment will hold. And then we would come back to the council with that financing package. It would be a public financing underwritten. And we would hope to get, it'd be a 10-year financing, so we'd hope to get somewhere in a 2% or below range. And so then we could do about $3.8 million, and that's what we're shooting at right now. So that closes the gap to about $1.4 million. Still substantial, still a lot of money to be found or cost savings to be found in the project, but that's our plan right now. And if the committee's okay with that, then we'll move forward with that. Keep looking for the remaining $1.4 million, hope that we get good bids, and hopefully that'll be enough. But the remainder would have to come from some other source, like some other, shifting around money in Norman Forward, shifting around money in the capital fund. And we would have to solve those problems as we move forward once we have real figures about the guaranteed maximum price and what we really need to have and what we can do as alternates or not. But on the revenue side, that's the plan right now.
Okay, question about that. Does that require any sort of vote from the public or
No.
just from council approval to go issue? Okay.
It's actually the Norman Municipal Authority that would be issuing it, but it's a council vote, yes.
Okay, you said 10 years?
Did you have a Zoom card? What's your, Miss,
No, it's my kid.
oh, got it.
Okay. Yeah, so, that sounds reasonable to invest from one quality of life project to the next. And I would request we go as quickly as possible because all the whispers of, interest rates rising. I'm sure you've all heard that as well. Councilmember Studley?
So maybe I'm misunderstanding this. On the first project for the senior center, was there actually a little bit of extra money?
Yes, we have a little bit of extra money, about $283,000 right now that's hanging around in there. But like I said, we have a few ad alternatives that we're kind of waiting to see where we're at after design development, which is supposed to be done for both these projects at the end of the month. And then we'll go out and do another cost estimate on both of these projects.
Okay.
And we'll be able to figure out if we can add those ad alternatives in, which is maybe another pickleball court or steel panels or something on the outside of the building. We'll go back to the ad hoc committee and get their input on that.
Okay, and then, Anthony, is there, and I don't know how this, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but if we're breaking ground on this in July of 2021, I'm assuming construction would still be underway, I'm assuming construction would still be underway next year. So is there any way are there any projects that are closing out in 22 or at the end of this year that we could use?
Potentially. And we certainly will be looking for that. When I say shifting money around in the capital fund, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, there is that potential. Council would have to make a decision about, okay, do you want to use funds that had been allocated for this project instead? Or we completed this project with $100,000 left over. Do you want to use that $100,000 toward this?
Okay.
And those are the sorts of questions that we'd be coming to you with.
Okay.
And I'll say on the construction timeline that when we break ground in July, we're just clearing ground at that point. Real construction won't start until December or January.
Okay.
So we have time to kind of find, what you're talking about, find that gap and hopefully fill it in before we start real
Councilmember Hall?
construction.
I was just curious about that too when you put the slide up there, because I think a couple weeks ago we were looking at more of a shortfall. So I'm assuming you did the value engineering and were able to, come up with the figures that you did now. So this was all presented to the senior advisory group.
These new numbers have not been presented to it, but when we went to the ad hoc committee, they gave us the thumbs up to go and do the value engineering, which we did.
Okay. Because I know we've discussed this before, but I just want to ask it again. You know, is there, as we move through each week, is there any value to, you know, putting off starting construction with the hopes that some of these construction and supply chain issues are going to resolve themselves?
Talking to our construction managers, they don't believe, and they're the people that are in this industry, that the construction costs will even out. Now, there's a chance that construction materials might go down a little bit, but with we have some inflation coming up with us. The cost of labor has stayed pretty consistent and has not gone up with building materials, but they are forecasting that will probably go up. So I don't think that it's kind of a gamble to wait, because if we wait a year and it goes down a couple percentage points,
And then something else goes up.
I mean, that really doesn't affect our project that much, but
Everybody
if it goes
that I
up
talk to-
10%, it would affect us a lot more.
And just understand that I am personally knee-deep into this construction game.
Yes, you are.
Because of my house.
Yes.
But everybody that I talk to says that, no, it'll stay where it is or go up over the next year or two. So unless you want to delay things for 2 years, no, it's really move forward as quickly as you can. And I'm
Councilor
sorry.
Raleigh, the other risk that is pending, if $1 trillion infrastructure package from the federal government is released, we have finite construction material and finite labor, and both of those costs will go through the roof with another $1 trillion in demand. Hits the market all at once. So it's risk.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a gamble, yeah. And then on the, you talked about the steel on the multi-sport aquatic. Is that an exterior finish, or is that?
The exterior of the multi-sports is mainly stone and a kind of a concrete rock type
Okay.
thing. And it still has to go through the architectural review board, but
Yeah.
we finally got the color scheme picked out and the kind of stone, so we're ready to move forward with that. But no metal on the outside of that building besides maybe some guttering or roof edging.
Well, I was just wondering with, you know, in comparison with what you were talking with the exterior finish on the senior center, if there was, you know, another way to dig into that 5 million with the steel cost for the multi-sport. No.
No, not as much opportunity there.
And escrow is scheduled to close on that real estate on Tuesday of next week.
Perfect.
Councilor Nash, anything to add?
Yeah, a couple of small questions. So, like on the senior center, with the parking lot, does it need to be as big as it is? Isn't there a lot of parking that's going to be with the new Norman Regional
Let's go
campus?
back and look at that. There is going to be a lot of parking, but you want your seniors to be as close and accessible as possible. And 97 is not, in the whole scheme of things, it's not a whole lot of parking spots. And you look right there at that property line with East Johnson Street right there. What it doesn't show that there's going to be a huge elevation drop right there, and I believe they're going to have to go, which is Norman Regional's cost. There is going to be a lot of brick and a retaining wall right there that probably right next to that street. So it'd be a huge elevation drop from all the north property down to where this is going to be. But in short, you want your seniors as close to the building as possible. And in a long scheme of things, you know, they think they need more parking than what's offered here.
For both this and the athletic center, are they going to be able to accommodate buses?
At the athletic center, we will be able to accommodate buses. Here as well, the portico that I gotta remember what direction to go to. Right, the portico you kind of see there and there. That's at the height where a bus can fit underneath it, especially when you're talking about aging services or the Quanta cruisers. It's going to be able to fit underneath that. At the multi-sports center, now that we don't have the facility of the 50-meter pole, we don't believe we're going to have as many school activities going on. But we do have the ability to have buses coming in and out of the parking lot, and the parking is ample around that area, so we believe that they can go to one of the other stores and park the bus while the event's going on and then come back.
Okay, so with the athletic center, what kind of sales tax is that going to be able to generate for Norman? Is there any way that's going to actually pay Norman back?
Yes, I honestly think that sports tourism is real. Bringing people to our community, if they're staying at Embassy Suites, we got the hotel motel tax. It's in, my opinion, an excellent spot surrounded by restaurants and shops.
But we're not going to be able to have tournaments there.
Here we are.
No. You're talking about, that was on the swimming side.
Okay.
The basketball tournament will be having tournaments in the association with Young Family. We are kind of on hoping, and he wants this open by summer 2023. He's talking about bringing in a national Adidas tournament, which will be 100+ teams. And like the mayor was saying, it's right around all those hotels. We have about 500 to 600 hotel rooms within walking distance. When we put this place out for bid for national tournaments, people are going to be ready to come, and it's going to be full with basketball, volleyball tournaments, sports tournaments are ready to go. We're going to have a few swim tournaments in there, not as many as we would have with the 50-meter pool, but they're going to be more like duels, where you have two to four teams in there at a time and conducting meets in that way. But the tournaments and the full revenue of hotel rooms, restaurants, shopping will be definitely fulfilled on the sports side, the multi-sports side.
Okay. Is there going to be a clinic built into the senior center?
There is, we have a hospital right next door, so they're going to offer a lot of the services there. And we do have these exam rooms. Let me go to I can't figure out which direction I'm going anymore. Let's see. We do have 3 exam rooms built in where, right here towards the left of the admin area, those are 3 exam rooms where you can do a number of things, from doctor exams to vaccinations to health checkups, mental exams, massages, pedicures, manicures, all that stuff is being talked about. It's going to be a flex space where they schedule different things on different days to happen in those exam rooms.
Mr. Powell?
Councilmember Nash, just a thought on the sports tourism piece. Mrs. Sarah Kaplan, she is our retail coordinator. She found a software tool that we'll be subscribing to in the upcoming budget year that will allow her, in kind of a GIS form and format on a map, to be able to draw a circle when we have events coming. And this software will track cell phones coming in from all over the world, and will generate a report that'll tell us this many people came from Norman, and all these other people came from all these other places around the country. And we think it'll help us quantify what kind of draw sports tourism really has, and be able to measure it in a way we have not been able to measure it in the past. So we're really looking forward to our ability to jump into that software when the new fiscal year starts. And we even talked last night about, is it going to be pinpoint enough for us to identify a bus stop in a ward near apartments to say, well, all the people who are coming to this bus stop, they actually are all coming from those apartments. We need to move the bus stop closer to the apartments. So we're really looking to take full advantage of a new tool that we think will help answer all kinds of questions just like this. So we'll keep you posted.
And another sales tax thing right there that I didn't talk about, there is a room for a retail store in this place, and being associated with the Young Family, once again, we have had initial talks about a possibility of an Adidas store occupying that space. And if they do come in, I mean, being the only Adidas store, and especially connected with Trey Young and how popular that he is right now, that's going to produce a lot of sales tax. And every single league that plays in there or anything like that, they'll go buy their jerseys for that league out of that retail store. So all that sales tax would be produced. Just another option is producing sales tax right there in that retail area.
Councilmember Hall?
Yeah, 2 things. To the senior center, with the reimagining of the Porter campus, this is an integral part of what the entire campus is going to look like. And so while there's, we have capability within the building itself, there's going to still be an urgent care center right there, and other
Variety care, I believe.
Yep.
Variety Care
Care's
is
gonna
going
be
to have a new facility right there. Currently, the thinking is they're going to keep the education center, so that also gives some more flexible space, not actually in the building, but within the education center for other kinds of immunization clinics, community health type of things. So having it located on that Health Village site gives them access to a lot of things that are just going to be in close proximity outside of the building too.
I think that replat should be coming to council, we think August. The hospital's engineers are working mightily towards that goal, and they're making great progress. So you should see that finally.
And to add on to that, Norman Regional, anytime that we ask for any help, they're nipping at the bud to get out there and offer assistance to the city any way they can. So when we get this building up and running, they're going to be very anxious to get out there and serve our seniors in a medical capacity as much as they can inside this building.
And then the other piece I just want to throw out there, because this has really been under conversation for a very long time and was kind of put on hold because of the pandemic, but I represent council at the Visit Norman Board, and they have been working for well over a year with the hospitality industry in Norman to come forward with a tourism improvement district, and that will be all of our hotel and lodging actually assessing themselves an extra fee, and that will all be paid for visitors coming into Norman. So that's going to be a big plus too.
Lots of good
I
things
did want
ahead.
to try to address Councilmember Studley's question about Norman Regional's part of this facility. And basically, here are the two pools to the north. The administrative space is there, and really the main entrance
I'm being
goes
paper.
into Norman Regional space.
Oh,
And
okay.
on this facility, it's just kind of a shell space because they have their own architect that's finishing out their space.
Gotcha.
But all this part right here is Norman Regionals, and they have a fancy name for it, but clinic, I mean,
Sports Performance Center is what.
sport performance center.
And I'll email an updated PowerPoint to Anthony. He can get it out to you with the correct floor plan in it.
Councilman Staley?
Where's the retail space going to be?
The retail space, so you have your entry right there. Anthony might be able to point it out, or I can point it out to you. But the retail space is right here in this entry area, right to the right of everything. Let's see.
Where it says Beta inside of there?
The Norman Regional space is 2 floors, actually. And
I'll come point it out. Sorry. So that's the retail space right there.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it says Beta or something weird in there. So perfect, thank you.
All right. Well, it sounds like we have consensus to move this forward to get the ball rolling, since I think we're ready for it. Councilor Nash?
Does the senior center have a name yet?
No, and we're still working on that name, and I think the process of that would probably be working through the ad hoc committee to come up with a name, and then we'll go to park board and then present it to everybody. But right now, we're just calling it the Senior Wellness Center. It doesn't have any name specifically stuck to that.
Good question. And it doesn't necessarily have to.
But it could be the Holman Senior Center.
As long as he has a couple $1 million to donate.
All right. Well,
or he would have to die. One or the other.
No, we don't want that. No.
okay. Before this takes another dark turn, Mr. Francisco, I think we are ready to move on to item number 2, which is submission of the revenue and expenditure report.
The information is in your packets. The main thing that I wanted to point out is just the general fund is now right on budget for the year, which is a great thing, and that's subtracting out all of the one-time federal money that came in. But since the report for May came out, we got another record sales tax distribution that's pictured here, and it's toward the back of your packet.
Yeah, that's
But-
unbelievable.
But again, you know, in the presence of the press, I can't tell you what I said when I first saw the number. But again,
It required CPR.
very surprising to me. I did think we'd be up, but up to me would be 6%, 7%. But 42% is unheard of. And this is a record dollar amount of sales taxes, even when we are subtracting out for the public transit tax that we've ever received. So at least for this 2-month period, and hopefully it will continue for another few months, our economy is going really well as reflected in sales tax.
And Mr.
again, this is positive news.
And Mr. Francisco, just a reminder that this is 2 months behind. So May and June is March and April.
Correct.
And I love what we have spoken about this, about the money that came out, the stimulus money.
Yes.
So something to keep in mind for council as we're discussing how to spend ARP funds. If we can find a way to continue to provide stimulus to Norman residents, it comes right back to our community. So I wanted to make sure we understand that.
Mr. Francisco, we do accrue sales tax, so we'll get a check in July and a check in August, and you'll do a journal entry and move those into this fiscal year?
No.
We just go 12 months?
Yeah, the recording of sales taxes is on a cash basis,
Got it.
so no, the accrual for GAAP purposes will happen when we close the books, but for budgeting purposes, it's
Cash.
when we get the money on hand.
Fantastic.
That's the good kind of history I like making.
Yeah.
That's right.
Happens when we start getting vaccines and open everything up.
Is that it for the reports? Again, any questions? They are in the packet.
My only request, and I think you mentioned it, if you don't mind sending us the PowerPoint or the corrected PowerPoint, that's really helpful to me. So,
I'll do that today.
thank you.
And then item 3 is the submission of the report on open positions.
Ms. Hicks was not able to be here, but she did want the committee to know that we have received applications on the sustainability officer position, which you'll recall is being combined with Debbie Smith's position. Don't remember what that actually is, but over the next month or so, we should have some offers made, and hopefully that person will be identified.
Where are we in the process of finding a new Annalise?
We are in the process. That job is flown. Ms. Kaplan has also taken the opportunity to share that, and we're expanding our presence in LinkedIn for especially jobs like that one where LinkedIn could be a primary source to advertise. And we're hoping to interview within about 3 weeks to have us a candidate pool. We'd love to have 6 or 7 highly qualified folks to be able to run through the ringer and find us our next Annalise. She set the bar high for us, but we know exactly what we're looking for.
Definitely. All right. Any other comments about open positions? And again, what is the timeline for hopefully hiring the sustainability officer?
I think that one has probably closed by now. I will send out an email with that update on it. But
She
yeah,
said
I'll put
13
some-
applications, but I don't know if it's closed yet.
Got it.
Okay.
So, yep, we'll send that out to you.
All
13's
right.
good.
Item 4, miscellaneous comments. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks. I wonder if I can impose on council, not as part of this meeting, but I had some questions about something